Well, hello. Welcome back to the Kingsway Podcast. Excited you are here. My name is Trevor, and this is Jesse.
Hi.
I know that for some of you, you've been tuning in every week, and I'm excited that you've chose to. I even got a message this week to say someone found us on Spotify, which I loved, and they watched all the episodes immediately, which I love to hear that. And then they were like, "When's the next one come out?" And I told them, "Hey, every Thursday, we're trying to release one of these, especially during the quarantine, to give somebody maybe a laugh, maybe a little bit of lift up." And as we've said each week, we're trying to just learn how to learn and just love doing it. So, Jesse, you've never been on the podcast before, right? This is your first time.
First time.
You're on staff here at Kingsway? What is your role? How'd you get here?
Okay.
And who are you? Right?
My name is Jesse Delk. I'm from here in Mount Vernon. I started going to Kingsway like 3 or 4 years ago, but I think I've been studying the Bible pretty much more consistently than
More
usual.
consistently,
More
yeah.
consistently than usual for like a year now.
You're still learning.
God, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I've been studying the Bible for like a year now, and I've been enjoying that. And here at Kingsway, I'm the children's ministry intern. I work with John Flowers a lot, one of my best friends. He's kind of become like a mentor to me.
Absolutely.
Best friend, just kind of my go-to guy. And
Good friends with Garrett Whitmore, right?
Yep, Whitmer,
Yep,
good friends
yep.
with Garrett Whitmer, and love playing video games. Very much a people's person. Yeah,
That's how we become friends, right? We
Yeah.
play the Fortnites together.
yeah, we hang out all the
chase the dubs.
time.
I love it. Yeah, and if some of you just turned the podcast off because you found out I play Fortnite, I'm sorry. I do love Jesus still, and so does he. Well, I'm glad you're here. We're going to do a kind of a normal segment that we have done before, which is the off-the-cuff idea. And I know for you, you're a little bit scared, but a little bit nervous. I told you that we're all, depending on where we're at in our walk with Jesus or where we're at in our understanding of knowledge and different places of specific understandings. I know for some of us, math may be our specialty, reading may be, the Bible may be. We're all learning. And so today's questions, I think, will be a variety of different topics, and I'm sure we'll have a great time discussing them.
Hopefully.
We probably won't agree on everything. And
Whoa.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If you're watching and you don't agree with us, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. However, I'm always right. Just know that.
How can you always be right if
Jed
I'm
shaking
always
his
right?
head. Thank you, Jed. I appreciate that. You agree, right? I'm always right.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
He does his best.
So, Jed, I know you have a special microphone back there for the first time.
Yeah.
Hey,
good
there you
evening.
are. So you're going to be asking us some questions, and basically to set the segment up, we call it off the cuff, but Jed has some questions that Jesse and I have not. We might have heard them in passing, but we are not sure which ones he's going to ask. We're going to kind of rocket fire it, and we're just going to kind of come back and try to talk about some of the things that we know. Be honest when we don't know a ton, or be honest about what we don't know, but then give some clarity, some thoughts, if we can, on a topic. Some of them may be silly, some of them may be fun, some of them may be serious. So I have to wait and see because this is off the cuff, so we don't know. So Jed, do you have our first question?
Hope so. Let's start with a chill one.
Okay.
Nothing too serious.
Okay, good. Ready.
But if you get it wrong, everyone hates you.
We're done?
Gosh.
Oh, we're hated. Not we're done. We're hated. Okay, cool.
All right, question 1. What is a book or a movie that everyone loves but you hate?
Oh gosh. So we're just gonna divide the audience right
Yeah,
here. This is where we just immediately get.
This is where we lose half of our
half
followers.
of the people won't watch it anymore. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
My mom will keep watching, but yours will stop.
Okay. I wish that wasn't true. Stacy, we love you. All right. How about this? I'm thinking about a couple different things, but I want you. Do you have anything? Are you thinking
I
about?
think maybe you go first.
Oh gosh,
You go
I
first.
really want to say your favorite movie, but
No!
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. That's it. I think that's a cop out.
That is a cop out. Nope, because not everybody loves it.
I
think
know.
It's very
I know.
exclusive
It's
to
very
me.
true. We're not gonna mention it. And so here's probably something that I think most people won't agree with, but I tend to not like comedies as much as normal people. And I know for some people that is blasphemy, and that they hear that and they're like, why wouldn't you like comedies? I am more of a realistic person, and I know that makes no sense, right? I like
You're
to
like
laugh.
hilarious.
I
What
like
do
to
you mean you don't like
laugh, and I like,
comedies?
but there are some comedies that when I hear people that really like to watch. So, perfect example is like when Napoleon Dynamite came out.
Oh, I love Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Napoleon Dynamite to me, I watched it once and then I never want to watch it again.
Really?
Never want to watch it again. And that style of movie is the perfect example. I will quote it. I can quote it. But
That's really funny.
no, Tina, eat your food. Like I don't need that movie in my life.
What about the uncle who throws the football? He's
Yeah,
hilarious.
Uncle Rico
Yeah, it's
or whatever.
Rico. He's so-
I can quote it. I know it. It's just that style of movie. Like when I go to sit down, for a lot of people, they like a silly, mindless comedy. And I would much rather watch something like Manchester by the Sea, or just something extremely serious, dramatic, that is way intense and that makes you kind of cry or see life differently. And that, I know my wife and I
Yeah.
are very much so on the other ends of this perspective. So we find ourselves, she wants to watch something like a sitcom,
Yeah.
and I want to watch something serious. Well, how about you? What are you thinking about?
Oh, Harry Potter. Is
Harry
like
Oh my
it's
gosh!
I never got into it, never liked it, never found any interest in it. Like, I just thought it was just boring and I could just never get into it. I just always thought.
Well, we all love to learn, so we'll
I just never got
just pray for you.
Maybe it has deep meaning or whatever.
Sacrificial love.
I just,
I don't
know, 'cause
nothing real serious.
It
I mean,
never hooked me.
the
I just
idea
always.
that love could change the world and that sacrificial love could,
Yeah, I don't know.
could
All I
destroy
see is
evil.
Quidgets and flying around.
Quidgets.
What are the
Oh my
quidgets?
gosh. Yes, quidgets.
Quidgets.
Okay.
The quidgets. The
I know
lightning bolts.
there is a good chunk of people that are watching this right now, and by that I mean all three. That that absolutely agree with you. I just want you to know that they hate Harry Potter. But there is also one, at least, that is me, that has read the Harry Potter series multiple times
Not
and
into
has
it.
watched it multiple times, and very undervalued.
That was kind of a jab.
I
but
know it was, but I know it's truthful. All right, Jed, good question. Question number 2, as we've already lost all of our audience, and now we need more chances. What's
So
question
you
number
can
2?
say
Jed?
what you can say whatever you want now. 'cause
Okay.
No one's listening.
No one's listening.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great.
All right. So just going a little bit more
A
serious.
little bit more serious. Okay.
Kind of, maybe a little silly as well. But hey,
I'm ready.
here's the question: should a Christian date a non-Christian? Does the Bible say anything about that?
Does the Bible say anything about that? Oh, gosh, man, I gotta open it now. Gotta
yeah,
start reading the
Let's
whole
read
thing.
it.
I threw in that second half. Just
You
for
threw
fun.
in that
Yeah.
second half? Okay, gosh. The Bible probably does. I don't know the direct quote. All right, let's start with you. Jesse, are you dating anyone?
No.
So you're single
I'm
and
single.
available. Look into the camera.
Wait, what is this? No.
So what do you think about this question when you hear it? Like, I know you said that you've been studying for a little while, and I know you've been
Yeah.
at Kingsway for a while. Like, what's your gut tell you? What do you think?
Well, for me personally, I wouldn't date someone that's not a Christian. Not because.
Are non-Christians dirty? Is that why?
No, nothing like that. Just really because, for me, what the relationship in marriage, like, I guess what my insight or like my vision for that is like, I'm going a direction, my life is going a certain direction, and I want someone who's going the same direction to join with me, and we go together. I don't necessarily think that it's
So they're not like Hitler in your mind or something.
no,
and they're
I
not-
just feel like without that, it will never be what it could be, if that makes sense.
So they're gonna hold you back.
No, I don't know. We'll just have different things in mind and different things on our goals
Mhm.
and aspirations, and I just think that will cause conflict. And I just think our hearts will be in the two different places. Not saying one's wrong. I mean, I guess
So
I am. But
would
like,
you date somebody and then try to convince them, like do like missionary dating, like where you date them and then hopefully by the end of the dating they're Christians?
No, I think that is scary. I think that is playing with fire because it's just like anytime it's like, oh, I'll fix this person and make them the way that I want. That scares me. And so for me, it's like, hopefully, and I guess I hope I can find a girl that I really look up to in her faith. Like, it's like, wow, like she is so solid and like she's already going this direction and like she inspires me. Like, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
So what do you say then to your friends that do date people that aren't Christians, that are Christians?
I would give a fair warning. I would definitely give a warning. I don't know that I don't feel it's right to take any executive action. Be like, no, like you can't do this. That's going to cause more conflict. But I think I would give someone a warning of wisdom. Is what I would say.
Done. It's good. Well, I agree with everything you just said. I think you did a really good job. Off the cuff, man. Look at you. But you're also in the throes of that, because that's what I was going to say. I haven't dated in 15 years. Although I do date my wife, don't come at me with that. But at the same time, like I do think there's kind of this natural mentality where I've always said that if you want to get married, the first thing you need to do is stop caring about getting married, and not in the sense of like not wanting it or not having it be, but like surrendering it, let it go, let it be something that you don't try to control, that you don't try to have like a mathematical equation, like I get here, I get this much money, then I find the girl, and then we get the kids, and then we get the house, and then
you win.
like it's just not going to work out that way. And so I do think that is something you have to lay down at Jesus's feet. I think it's something you have to lay out and just say like, hey, if it happens, it happens. And I do think the most attractive thing, if I can just be like real, the most attractive thing that anybody can see in another person when they're wanting to date is someone that's confident and someone that's self-assured and that knows where they're going and what they're doing. And I think your faith is absolutely a part of that. I really do.
For sure.
And so I do think if you're living your faith out and doing things, I think it attracts the right person. But I also know that non-Christians are also attracted to that.
That's true.
And because they see you have your life together, they see you have focus, they see that you're self-control, that you have parameters around things. So this is a tricky question, because I do think there are some times where like people that maybe aren't at the same spiritual level or decision come into contact with someone that's at a higher level, or and they want what they see, they like it.
So what I see in what you're saying is you need to almost kind of define what a non-Christian is. Is it like someone who's against it, or someone that's just not there? That's the most.
That's the tricky part, and that's where I was getting to. Because a lot of times we like to see it like black and white. Where I'm like, when do you know your faith grows? Like, when do you like wake up and you're like, oh, my faith is 2 inches taller?
Yeah.
Like nobody knows that. And so like whenever people say like, do you like date non-Christians? I'm always like less faithful Christians, or like non-Christians.
That's
like
important.
if you're dating someone, they're like, I don't believe in God and I never will, and I don't want to go to church. Like that is a very different response than someone that's like, I didn't grow up in the church, I don't know a whole lot about the Bible, but I'm interested.
Yeah, that's
like,
completely different.
That's a completely different scenario. And so I think this question is tricky because we want to put it into a black and white thing. And I think being upfront and clear and having your life reflect what you believe and where you're going is the first deterrent to making poor choices in this area.
Bingo.
If you don't have those things defined, then it makes it a little bit harder to have that discussion with somebody, because they don't know, you don't know where you're going, like you said. So
perfect.
Good, Jed? Okay, sweet.
Sweet.
All right. Next question, I guess. That was a little bit up,
that was a little.
I felt less sting than the Harry Potter. That felt like it was good. That kind of hurt my soul, but we're back. We have another question, Jed?
Yeah. I actually just got these in.
Oh, man.
Freshies.
Terrified.
And so I'm going to have specifics. I'm gonna have a specific question for Trevor, and then a specific question for Jesse.
Oh gosh.
And then we'll come back for one more of you two together.
Okay. Cool. So what are we starting with?
So Trevor.
Oh gosh. Yes. Totally ready. Buckle in.
What does your regular practice of the word look like?
Good question. I'm assuming they're meaning the Bible. Is that what they're meaning? Okay. Because like I hear that term and I'm like, the word. I'm like, Jesus is the word. I was like immediately like, what are you talking about? So that's a great question. So I didn't grow up in a house. Like my dad's a pastor. I grew up in a Christian home. I didn't grow up with a dad though that like I saw him read his Bible a ton at home. And I didn't grow up with a dad that like had us do like family devotionals around a table, or like mandatory like go off into the woods and read your Bible. And I always found that curious because, every time I would go to youth group or go to church, there would always be like, sayings like we've said here, like 5 minutes a day will change the rest of your days. Like reading 5 minutes of the Bible a day will change the rest of your days. And I always thought, well, I didn't do that growing up. You know what I mean? Like, well, that wasn't a part of my daily routine. And so we were sitting down with my dad when I was like 16 or 17, and I was trying to like ask him, like, why don't we do some of this stuff? And he had just a great response. He said that when you read Deuteronomy, when you read certain passages like in Deuteronomy 6 where it says like teach these things while you're walking along roads, when you eat the meals, when you do these things, it's a part of your whole life. And so what he said is, how many times have we had discussions when we're driving down the road? How many times have we talked about these things while we're digging a ditch in the yard? How many times have we been on a hike? Or how many times have we been in the basement? Or how many times, and what he started to say is like our whole lives have been discussions on the Bible and Jesus and growing and knowledge. And what he really gave me was more of a desire to know more. And the A.W. Tozer quote is always a quote that I think of when I think of. He says, "What you think of when you think of God is the most important thing about you." And when I think about that, what my dad has taught me is that each day I try to define, grow in, or at least spend some time thinking about who God is, what he's up to, and how I could play a part in that, or what he's calling and asking me to be a part. So that may be that I read my Bible. I most of the time I'm in a book. That's normally how I do things, or a letter, I should say, or a specific section of the Bible. So like right now, Philippians is where I've just been chilling. I've really loved Philippians. I'm thinking about preaching about Philippians soon. And so it's an incredibly good book, because it's one of the first letters that Paul wrote. It's one of the first letters that Paul is getting out there to this like Eastern European town. And it's very much so a political, like patriotic town that doesn't like the idea that Jesus is king, wants like Rome and Caesar to be king. And so they're very much against the gospel message at its core. And there's just a bunch of like nasty stuff that pops up, and so he's writing a letter to encourage them. And I feel like for me at times I need a book that kind of relates to where I feel currently, a little bit under attack from the coronas, a little bit a little bit like my faith is a little bit at times in doubt and structured. So that's where I've been hanging out. So to answer the specific question is this: I try to start each day by at least inviting God into the conversation. Ravi Zacharias, if you want to know the voice of God, make it the first voice you hear every morning. And then I try to at least listen to someone in the day that is breaking down, thinking through, or exposing a truth about who God is or what he would want me to do. And then I at least try to have one part in the day where I read at least a couple verses and have them in my mind. I think having 2 verses that you think about solid for a week and letting them soak in is way better than reading 2 books of the Bible in a week. So that's kind of my personal opinion. If you would take 2 verses and read them every day and actually ponder on them, I think it's more powerful than like quantity. So I just think quality over quantity is what I would tell you. So that's my long-winded specific. The word.
Good job.
The word.
Good enough?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. That's good. All right, Jesse.
Okay.
Has interning at Kingsway grown your walk with God, and how, and the flip side of that question, do you want to pursue ministry more because of it?
Yeah. So being here at Kingsway has absolutely impacted me. I think just being under the shoulders of great guys like Trevor and great guys like John and great guys like you, Jed.
Okay.
And just being able to, no, seriously. And seeing you guys, especially when I get to see you guys be fathers, I think that's really cool, and that really inspires me. I just think that's so cool. And yeah, just definitely being around this atmosphere has been awesome, and learning that there is no, I guess when I started, not that I expected there to be some behind the curtain thoughts and stuff, but there was just a certain amount of genuineness that I found that really surprised me. I think for the better. When I came here, I was like, wow, like we really do pray and we really do care, and it's really not about the money. I was like, wow, this is awesome, and that really inspired me. And because of my internship here at Kingsway, not just solely because of that, it's been something that's been on my heart for a long time. But I absolutely want to pursue ministry for the rest of my life, for sure.
Cool. All right.
You said you have one more question for us together?
We'll have one more. Yeah. I had a real good one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe don't have time for it. We'll go for a softball.
Well, what was the good one? I
Yeah,
just
wait
want
a
to know,
minute,
just
yeah.
in case. Or
All
you
right,
want to save
all right.
it?
Cool.
How much time are we at right now? What are we at?
We're right at like 20 minutes.
Let's see. Just give us the good one. Give us the good one.
Let's
Give
go
us-
for it.
Let's go.
Give us the good one. We're going to
All
give
right.
the people a little longer podcast this week.
Killing the
They got
fat
more
and killing
time.
That's true.
So
Okay. Buckle up.
buckle up.
What is the biggest doubt or question about God that you have wrestled with in the last year?
Man, the last month is kind of like, right? Like,
Yeah, dude, I've had some questions this week for
Yeah.
sure, I think.
Well, how about this? I'll let you go first, Jesse, and then we'll see where we arrive at
Okay.
together.
I think my answer will be a little bit different than yours, considering your background. But looking at just the context of the creation of the Bible, I think has been actually a little scary for me. Looking at like, oh, okay, like these texts, like because I was looking at stories of people being healed, and I was like, I want to see the writing of these people who got healed. Like, I want to hear their stories, and I want. Why didn't they write all this stuff down? You know, how come this? And asking myself questions like that about the Bible coming to be, where these letters and stories came from, has been challenging and very scary. And I will say that my mind has had doubts, but I don't know, my heart can't be more sure.
Yep.
Which is really strange because I feel like a normal logical person sometimes would be like, nope, debunk it, throw it all out here. But I'm just like, no, like my heart is so sure. And so wrestling with those has been probably my biggest down. That is a pretty recent stuff.
Absolutely. That's a really good question. I think knowing that I've been through a little bit of that and knowing that there is some truth at the end that you're going to be able to stand on, that I think the Bible is something that can be trusted. But also, I mean, this may sound like super controversial, but like the Jesus rose from the grave before the Bible existed. You know, the Torah was there, and like they obviously had it, but the Bible wasn't the reason that people came to believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus rising from the grave was the reason that people believed in Jesus.
Exactly.
That always gave me confidence too, that like even if everything faded away and you and I forgot how to read and we couldn't read this, because there are plenty of people in this world that can't read and don't have the Bible, that the truth of Jesus still stands.
Yeah.
And that always gave me a little bit of confidence to know that too much information about something sometimes can muddy the simple truth of the gospel.
Bingo. I needed to hear that.
I know that was always the comfort to me, but at the same time, I don't think that God gave us our minds and the ability to investigate without wanting us to use it. So I think like your pursuit of that and like wanting to do that, that's a healthy thing. So that's cool. That's cool. And I don't want to chase away doubts. We've always said doubts lead to greater faith. I've said that for years in youth group when you're around, like never run away from your doubts, because your doubts are normally leading to questions that can lead to greater faith. You know, why do you doubt? I think you doubt because you have moments of fear or questions, or, you know, you grow up a little bit. One of the things as I break this question down, just like when a 5-year-old asks where the babies come from, and then a 15-year-old, and then a 25-year-old, and then a 45-year-old, if they're in nursing school or, you know, like they're a doctor, your questions about faith will always grow. They'll need more detail. And what a 5-year-old would get as an explanation for where babies come from, maybe a 20-year-old, that same explanation, the 5-year-old won't work. You need more information to understand, and you want more depth. And then once someone becomes pregnant, you know, they need a lot of information. That before they're like, sure. I don't need just like stork stories, you know, like I need like real life. And so, you know, when the rubber hits the road in your faith, I think that's when real questions hit up. And that kind of leads into my doubts. Like my biggest doubt at times is unanswered prayers. And I know I said that a few minutes ago when the possibility of this question was kind of said to me, but the idea of like when someone that has like legitimate faith prays without ceasing and really does live a life that I think would be worthy of, you know, God's honoring their prayers, and then he doesn't answer them. And so the only thing that gives me solace is actually that pain and suffering video that we did a few weeks ago that I've referenced now several times. But, you know, John Lennox did this interview that I've referenced in our Good Friday thing with Ravi Zacharias International Ministries on YouTube. And when Lazarus dies in chapter 11 of John, he broke it down even a level that I had never broken it down, which was really, really cool. But Martha and Mary are the sisters of Lazarus, and this was just a few days ago that I heard this, that it gave me good understanding of sometimes why prayers aren't answered. When Jesus shows up to the village, he's 3 days late. Lazarus is in the grave. He's dead. Everybody's crying, weeping. They're mad. They're angry, you know, whatever. And Martha meets Jesus first, and Martha asks the intelligent question, right? The intellectual question of why Jesus didn't come earlier, because he's healing everybody else and he didn't heal his friend. And Jesus gives her the intellectual answer. He's like, I am the resurrection and the life. She doesn't like that answer. She repeats back that she has heard, she's known, she's researched it enough. She's like, I get it. And he's like, no, you don't get it. Like, if you got it, you would understand that question's way more than you need. Like, he'll never die. You know, like those that live or believe in me will never die. And you know, for her, she's like, yeah, cool, but he's still in the grave. You know, like it doesn't click. But he's able to answer the intellectual question. He's not afraid of it. Like, he doesn't dance around it or just cry with her. He like comes back and actually has legitimate answers. That always gives me help. But then Mary is the next sister he interacts with, and he says, she says the exact same question that Martha has, but she has the emotional side of the answer. Like, she wants the emotional side, and so she says, "Why didn't you come?" And Jesus just cries with her. He doesn't give her the intellectual answer. He doesn't give her too much. He just cries with her. And that's the side of Jesus that I love too, where he's like, I know some people need the intellectual answers, and other people, they just need to know I care. And so I think when I hear unanswered prayers, a lot of times I'm looking for one of those two answers. I'm looking for God to, I just, sometimes I doubt that God cares.
Yeah.
And sometimes I doubt that there's a real answer to what's being asked. Like, intellectually, maybe this doesn't make sense. And so I give myself pause that I don't have to know everything. The Isaiah thought, right? His ways are higher than my ways, and his ways are not my ways. But I also think that it just is something that I have to pray through and continually ask God to bring more confidence in. So, and I know a lot of you out there probably have some of those doubts and worries, and maybe that's something you throw in the comments. I'd love to hear what your biggest doubts or things you've been struggling with. In fact, any of the questions that we've had off the cuff, Joe, wouldn't it be fun to have those in the comments? I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
to have
that'd
those
be
in
a blast.
the comments. Yeah, I think any of the questions you've heard today, we'd love to see your answers in the comments. And
questions for the future too.
Absolutely. Nice. Yeah, anything that you want to hear us talk about. These off the cuffs are always a neat thing. Get to know us a little better. We're trying to keep it light and fun too, but at the same time, get to some places where maybe we have some legitimate discussions. So, well, Jesse, thanks so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
And, stay on the straight and narrow. I'm glad to hear that Kingsway's had some positive effects, and in spite of the Fortnite. And we'll get you on that Harry Potter train. Hey, thanks so much for sticking with us this long and paying attention this long. It's awesome. Yeah. And you guys have a
great and glorious day in the Lord.
Great and glorious day in the Lord. We'll see you later.